You see a lot of people, whether they're studying game design or anything like that, they're very confused about what's a narrative and what's a game. So you'll hear them describe like, oh, well, in this game you're going to do this, and then this happens, and you're going to do this, and then this happens, and and that's not obviously how games work. Games are collections of systems. There's often a narrative involved, but the real narrative for me, what I learned on those early projects, or the interesting narrative, is the player-driven narrative. It's the story the player tells themselves as they play that is fascinating. And as game designers, we create tools that build the possibility space of what they can talk about or how they can talk about it, and that's our authorial control. Gamers are telling their own story, and every time you try to stomp that and move through it and say, no, you're playing it wrong, it's a disaster. You need to let people express themselves and let them have fun with the game. Working at Maxis is fun because you're working completely without any constraints, and that's exciting because you're building very pure systems that allow people to make anything that they want. And the kind of game pattern is, build something, smash it, build a new thing, smash it, build a new thing, and it's that loop of experimentation that's fun. So Spore was one of those games when I had the opportunity to work on it, where you realize no one's ever going to make this game again. For better or worse, no matter how this shakes out, there was a lot of effort and a lot of incredibly intelligent people trying to make this crazy game that fit together in a really unique way. These were all brand new concepts, and it's rare in the business that you get such a clean piece of paper to write on. So that was a lot of fun. And by working on those kind of ideas, I think you find different boundaries in game design. Like a lot of games, you start with a rough template based on either a title you've worked on before or an existing title in the marketplace. Like there are nice structures in game design of like how a shooter works or how a platformer works or even how a strategy game works. Whereas once we hit Spore, we realized we were out in the weeds. So I think for me, it allowed me to think systemically about game design. So the notion that you don't have to have as much authorial control. You can create spaces that people can experience themselves and play around with themselves. That is really exciting. It's just as exciting as authored content. But after a while, you start to yearn for the ability to put some constraints in, and have some more control and have set pieces and big moments that you want to build up to. So for me, that was what I started to miss. I started to miss console development, and I started to miss the ability to sort of funnel people into areas. Still allow people obviously to explore and do their own thing, but to draw a more defined box around it. So that for me is the big difference between the two. So I like to think that every project you work on, you build on it. You learn something new that you can take forward into the next game.